rep- replicating itself into creation and existence of all that is. The quantum field designs the blueprint of our universe and multi-universes. To be at one with our source creator presence to dynamically birth into existence all that is. So today I present this really cosmic topic of the quantum field being the central point of creation to you. To see that to it that all of creation really stems from this quantum universe that births everything into existence. So before we take an in-depth look at the quantum field itself and how it can relate to being the central point of creation in our three-dimensional universe and also the galactic multi-universes out there, let's take an in-depth look at what this quantum field really means and what it's really all about. So the quantum field in simpler terms is simply a fundamental entity representing all of space-time, whereby particles like electrons, quarks, and photons go through this underlying specific localized excitations, or should I say vibrations, which is really the quantum representing the quantum field. And furthermore, shows the unified system of this quantum field and relativity to show you how they are in constant motion and interactions with each other. These forces, constantly co-creating the existence of everything in our space-time universe and even understanding how they can be birthed into the Earth's field itself. So we see that this quantum field shows us, these interactions of what we first look at some subatomic particles out in the space matter field, you should say, and how they're constantly in interactions with each other to co-create. You could say, first of all, the matter field out there, the gaseous components, and birthing all of these, galactic representations in space from the galaxies to the stars to the planets, and furthermore, going forth into the planets and birthing, all of existence itself, you know, not just as we stated before the nature element, but even the mass, the matter composing itself and constantly through different interactions and, scientific displays of coming together through this subatomic. This very like if you are of course a scientist and you could study, atoms and particle interaction, you will see that everything starts off small and then grows bigger and bigger, as you will see in this quantum field explanation. Matter birthing itself, constantly going through different states of, solids, liquids, masses, and gaseous components. We will first try to go really into the quantum field theory and what it's all about, and see to it how we can show how co-creation is constantly into existence and birthing our reality. So we have to first understand how the quantum field interacts and how we in fact can use it in our daily lives through our own energy field and our different states of consciousness. birth and, should I say, reproduce our reality into existence. So, in order to fully understand how, in fact, the quantum field really is our central point of creation, we have to seek to understand the creation process itself. And so, creation, in fact, is just the process of bringing anything into existence. So, as it relates to the quantum field, we shall see that the quantum field is in constant interactions and unity with each other, sometimes even through disturbances. As I've stated before, this field consists of subatomic particles such as, electrons, which is really the positive. Like if you take a battery, you have the positive and negative side. You will see that, okay, the electromagnetic field representing this positive vibrational frequency that is in constant interaction. We also have what is called quarks, which is the representation of the quantum field, matter field itself. We also have, not just protons and electrons, we have neutrons as well. So we see this constant, you know, negative and positive energy interaction with each other. The negative energy representing the disturbance. You see, let's just take an earthly example of you put a egg into a saucepan and you heat it up on the stove. And as the water becomes very hot, you see that the egg starts cracking. So we see that this egg in its matter form, in order to change its state of matter to get harder, of course, before you put it to boil, the egg would have just had this liquid like state containing the yolk and the white part inside of it. And as it gets heated up, the matter version. Now, as we could correlate it to the quantum field, we see that this egg is being disturbed in its present state by the heat particles flowing through its form and, of course, making it harder so that you get to taste this delicious egg and make your delicious food. So too with that, we could correlate it to the disturbances happening through a space-time area. We shall now take a look to show that in this quantum field per se, we have the vacuum-like stage, which in what's termed a vacuum, it is normally seen as empty. Let's just take what our earthly vacuum that we use to vacuum our carpets and pick up dust, from the floor and other unnecessary particles in a house or wherever. And you may see that, wow, before you fill it up, it feels like it's empty. But of course, not just within this earthly vacuum, within our quantum field space-time, the matter field is filled with gaseous components. Before we can see the matter, we have to see like these subatomic particles, they are in a state of matter which is being constantly changed and eventually being turned into whether it's liquid or solids to birth matter into form. So we see that even through the void space, and we may look at our creation center in this Milky Way galaxy, which is of course our galactic center in the Sagittarius A star, which represents our void space, the vacuum-like space. Now, it may be filled with gaseous components. It may be filled with what's called dark matter. It may also just be filled with so many different subatomic particles. But through the energy vibrations going there with the constant disturbances happening, we see that it constantly is in the form of creation, birthing into form galaxies, stars, and planets, and even some other, matter like co creation that we may not even be aware of. We see that we have, or asteroid belt, we have comets, we have so many things in space that NASA is still even trying to understand through their daily research. But we'll stick to, what's common and what's, widely known in our topic of discussion. So we see there lies the central point of creation in the void, the quantum field, through the different frequency and energy fields, like I stated, the electromagnetic field widely displayed in the space-time universe, coming forth together and interacting with these particles, creating form, and there, and as we see that this form-like creations is birthed into existence, we get to see what happens from just these subatomic particles, you know, growing and growing and growing. And here we have this beautiful planet on Earth that we get to live on, giving us so many different resources and filling us up with the sustenance of life. So we see that in order for anything to be birthed, there in this void space and vacuum-like frequency, we see that everything starts from the zero point field, the quantum field, which is the lowest field, of course, in this quantum co-creation energy. And we see to it that it's so much of energy and subatomic particles interaction with each other. But we also see that, wow, consciousness gets to be birthed into form. And as we go forward and to understanding, the co-creation of everything, we see that, wow, in terms of source and co-creation, we have to understand that it stems from the energy field being birthed into consciousness. And as we know that we as living organisms, human organisms, in order for us to be fully present in this world, we have to have this state of consciousness and conscious mind in order for our brain to even process so much. You see, we see that there can be times when somebody is pronounced, brain dead, as in their brain is not functioning, but then their body is still alive. And many times they have to put this person on life support. I recently saw this news forecast where a young lady was said to be brain dead, but at the time she was pregnant, and because of certain statutory laws in her state of Georgia, against really her mother's will and not really understanding everything, the doctors decided to keep her alive on life support until her baby was born. Now, she was just 2 months pregnant at the time, but they kept her for another 4.5 months just to be able to bring the baby into existence and birth this child, because there were laws against abortion in her state. And of course she was pronounced brain dead, so she couldn't make that conscious decision. So we see that this very three-dimensional example of even co-creating and what being brain dead is all about. But we see that her body was still alive, but she was able to even still co-create because of maybe all of these subatomic particles going through her body, and of course connecting it to this technology of life support. So too do we see this in the quantum field, that consciousness and energy and vibration it plays a vital role into co-creation and understanding how every single thing is being birthed into our reality. So we see that in understanding our quantum field, that many physicists have presented their scientific theories and notions. One, for example, being Albert Einstein with his great theory on relativity and understanding that everything truly is energy around us, i.e., the quantum field, being in constant interaction or disturbances with each other to co-create the positive and negative vibrations in our universe. So we see that the central point of creation starts off small, but can birth so much life into existence. So now we see that the state of inertia where matter is in constant flow in its energetic state. And then as it gets bigger and bigger, it bursts off some sort of reality. So there we have to tie the connection with energy and consciousness, like I gave you the example before. So stepping away a little bit just from the space-time quantum field, we get to see that in our daily lives. The energy field around us is in constant flow with each other, vibrating on different frequencies. And there you have to connect your state of consciousness, as you know, I present to you before, stating that we get to live this life being conscious in a body. That does not mean that when we live this earthly state and go forward into, just going into another life cycle in our death state, that we're not conscious. In fact, we are so much more conscious being connected to the creator source and the quantum field that it's just a whole other level of consciousness. But in order to stay planted in our 3D dimensional existence on earth, we have this sort of confined, I should say, state of consciousness to remain in divine harmony with everything in our earth. So we see that, wow, through this zero point field, that let's say you conceive a thought, something simple. Oh, let's say you decide today I'm gonna bake a cake. You first had that conscious thought, and then through your energetic field you saw that, wow, I could go forward and make this delicious cake. Maybe it's like a chocolate cake or something. It's the holidays, you have families coming over, and you, through your energetic frequency, take the necessary steps. You get all of the ingredients and you start the process of creating this beautiful cake for your friends and family. So there we see the co-creation of consciousness and energy. So we now have to see to it that we constantly tap into this conscious state of mind to co-create our desired reality. Let's take a look at Nikola Tesla, who was this great genius who let us understand the universe, and letting us understand that if we want to understand the universe, you have to look at energy, frequency, and vibrations, which, as I've noted before, the quantum field is all about the interactions of the excitations of this vibrational and energetic field. He gave us this beautiful code and formula of the 369 code, which is often noted that the creation point represents, certain structures similar to triangles. The 6, which is all about the harmonious state, representing the hexagons. And the 9, which is about, just the cosmic state of the universe, representing multidimensional fractal purpose. So there we get to see this sacred geometry, you know, getting into place to birth and form itself. We see that Tesla gave us this great 369 code teaching us about the co-creation process and showing us how working together with the universe through a conscious state of mind and the energetic fields and frequencies and vibration, we could simply birth anything into form, just like the quantum field in space-time, effortlessly birthing galaxies, birthing stars, birthing planets, etc., etc. So too it that we have to pay very close attention to the frequency and vibration that we carry out on a daily basis. We also see that even like I stated before, the neutrons and the disturbances is also into co-creating form. But what is it that you best want to co-create on a daily basis? So we see another example of the divine presence of Archangel Metatron with his Metatron's cube, showing this beautiful sacred geometry pattern, which truly represents the divine order and the blueprint of the universe. So we can look at all these examples of the quantum field from a, a galactic and almost ethereal level to birth everything into form. And we are like, wow, we truly have to now start taking an in-depth look at, first of all, the energetic field, of truly tapping into higher states of consciousness to truly be able to birth what it is that you want. Now, as we can see in connecting the creator source co-creation, many of you might say to it like, wow, maybe I've tried this, based on, working with the universe and the energetic state of mind to co-create something into form. Whatever you want to birth into reality. It could be your own heart's desires, maybe a home, working on certain, different personal things. Maybe you wanna, if you're a seamstress, birth this beautiful design of an outfit. Maybe you wanna do big things, start a community and have different projects going on. But whatever it is in your personal life, you name it. But we see how so intricately connected that everything is, and we have to start first on this very vibrational, energetic level to fully connect our energetic fields and our divine states of consciousness to birth everything into reality. So we truly see how the quantum field is truly the central point of creation for all that is. So let's look at a great example of how this quantum field works on Earth itself. So we see that the magnetic pull from the depths of the Earth through the crystalline templates that lies beyond the Earth. And also we have this great space-time electromagnetic field in constant flow with its subatomic particles such as the electron, the quarks, the protons. Having this interaction with each other and, should I say, disturbances through their matter field and vacuum-like states. And if you look at the ocean, you get to see that through this disturbance, the wave-like particles begins to be formed. So we see that this energetic pull, even through sources, state of consciousness, get to create these wave-like frequencies. And there we have the waves where, ships and boats could, go on the ocean and be able to go to their destination We have surfers who get to enjoy the beautiful wave frequencies and surf on the ocean, and so much more. People swimming, you name it. So too we see in rivers when currents, you know, form these disturbances, and we get to see, how the rivers just flows. So, in other words, we get to see that wow, their lives, these wave-like frequencies through our energetic field, that through our own vibration, through our own frequency, and most of all through our state of conscious mind, we get to birth everything into reality. And so I just, from my own life experience, have sometimes been taken into different states where I am able to fully connect, with the wave-like frequencies that surrounds me and tap fully into my, should I say, alternate state of reality, and connect fully with the wave-like field too. Maybe through my state of conscious mind, be able to maybe sometimes be in a higher state of consciousness, maybe just through my own frequency and thought form. You know, if I say, oh, wow, I wish the rain would fall right now, and maybe 2 minutes later, the rain starts falling. So we see little things like that. Oh, maybe you're hitchhiking from going on a hike and you need a ride, and then all of a sudden, someone stops and gives you a ride. So these are just very simple examples to show you that, wow, we ought to now fully understand this quantum field, and we are always in a co-creative state. So it's not to say that, wow, maybe when you're going through tough situations and tough times and different days, that maybe through your frequency it may dip a little bit, but you can always bring it back up, because just understand that, wow, you are in constant flow, you are constantly moving through this harmonious state, and should I say disturbances, to birth forth your reality within you and around you. So I hope this topic gives you a better understanding of how it is that we get to co-create with this quantum field, not just through space time, not focusing on what NASA does and saying space is out there, we're on this planet, we only have to deal with what we see around us, but using these theoretical dispositions to now connect fully with your conscious and energetic vibrational field to birth your reality. So, you know, I too am on a daily basis working with myself to fully tap into this central point of creation, because being someone that just loves being in my creative expression, I'm constantly pulling out what I can pull out from this quantum theory and physicists, experimentations and notions, to constantly be in this creative presence and connect fully with source to birth my reality. So you too can do it, but let's use this understanding of the quantum field being a central point of creation to birth realities, not just in a selfish, should I say, egotistical way for only oneself. See to it that whatever it is that you go forward and co-create, it's for the greater collective. It affects the greater collective. And even if it's an individualized project that you're working on and what you want to manifest into your reality, see to it that it's now pulling from the quantum field to help everyone co-create something that would be beneficial to all. So let's take what source gave us from this quantum field to birth a reality that's for the betterment of the collective and focus on elevating your reality and maybe sometimes helping others do the same. So I hope you've enjoyed this topic and I hope you use this for the betterment of yourself and each and every one in the collective universe.